All right, we are live now. It's 12:01. We're a minute late, but we are here. All right, guys, welcome to Detroit Speed's Taking a Break. This is episode 2. So I know most of you guys are probably quarantined at home or, just hanging out, working on your cars in the shop. So we're here to answer some questions, anything you guys might have. We like to just talk about some products, talk about your cars, even projects in the shop. That's why we have Matt here, project fabricator, and then Dan Oddy, sales and technical engineer. So what I'm going to do now is flip the camera over to those guys. We'll turn their audio on so you guys can still hear me. I'll kind of help moderate some things, but let's get some questions going. All right. You have your audio on too?
I do.
Okay.
I hope so.
You want to test over there, make sure you can hear? Perfect. Okay. All right. Also, just a reminder too, as well, we have Kyle Tucker, Detroit Speed owner and president. He's also attending in the chat. So if there's anything we don't get to you guys on, Kyle will definitely hop on there and help you guys out. So Matt and Dan, you guys want to give a quick introduction for people that may not have tuned in last week?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Dan Oddy. I've been with the company for over 11 years now, in different job titles. So you guys have probably seen a lot of the tech videos, install videos I get involved with. So I'm here to offer my experience and expertise.
I'm Matt Butts. I've been here going on 9 years now, mostly as a project fabricator, also assist engineering, some prototyping, worked in the test car shop. So had my hands on a little bit of everything. Definitely a lot of car building experience, mostly fabrication. So we'll provide any insight in those areas that anybody needs. So
awesome. Thank you, guys. So the first question right off the bat that we have from Eric Lane, he asked, how many of your products are made to order? He said he assumes there are a ton of products that are just shelf type items, but a ton more are made to order. Can we talk about the process? Maybe what products do we have that are made to order products, and what is something that we would keep on the shelf?
Yeah, we really try to keep everything on the shelf, especially the one part items like tubs or control arms or something simple like that. But a lot of the made to order parts, the biggest one is probably our rear axle housings that we do through GearFX. Those are pretty well made to order because there's specific lengths and brackets and stuff and options. So basically anything that has a lot of options will be more of a made to order part. I know some of the dash inserts, sometimes they get to be a made to order part, but for most of our catalog, everything is basically on the shelf in the ideal situation and ready to ship that day or the next day. So
yeah, I would say maybe another one that's made to order. I mean, depending on your options, it's shock options and what you're looking to do. I mean, it's subframe as well.
Yeah, a lot of our more common non-adjustable shocks we'll keep on the shelf, but sometimes some of the double adjustables or the remote canister shocks we might have to order from JRI, which good thing they're right down the road. So
yeah, but even then the process would be, I mean, we still continue to manufacture subframes, so we have them here, and then once someone picks their shock option, just a matter of ordering the shocks, putting them in the box and sending it out. So that kind of answers that question there. So I mean, majority of the products we do have, they are shelf type products, but some of the more custom applications is where you would see them being made to order. So here's another good question here from Todd Kessler. I'm local to your facility, but there are some projects I don't want to take on myself. Does your facility do smaller customer projects, or do we have a local partner that we would recommend, front end upgrade and such? So, I mean, I guess there's two angles we could take to that. I know, Matt, you can speak about kind of where we are on the project shop as far as taking on jobs like that, and then we can divert to Dan where you can kind of talk about recommended builders that we have. I mean, we have people all over the country that are, even the world, that are certified to install our products. So Matt, why don't you go ahead and touch on that real quick?
So I mean, basically where we're at, we typically have quite a few full builds going at any given time. But that being said, we have taken on plenty of smaller install projects. It definitely is something that we can work into the schedule, especially being that you're local. The convenience factor there is really big for yourself and us. So if you want to reach out to us, you can shoot any one of us an email and basically tell us what you're looking for, and we could definitely squeeze you in. Like I said, the bolt-on installs, the smaller jobs, it's good filler work. So we would definitely like to see what you have and see if we can work with you.
Yep, and like I said, between the project shop and sales and tech, we can kind of help you get the product you want, anything custom. Matt can handle like that. But yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone is, if they have any concerns or questions about a potential project that they might be interested in bringing in here, the email is projectbuilds@detroitspeed.com. So you guys can go ahead and send us, photos, backstory of your project, and kind of talk about what you may, want to do. And depending on where we're at with scheduling, we can maybe fit in some smaller things. So yeah, once again, that is projectbuilds@detroitspeed.com if you have any interest in maybe getting your car in here. So then we have Russ Panaton here. He says, do you folks tune front and rear roll centers for optimum handling? We kind of want to touch about, with our suspension products, is roll center considered, and what do we do to optimize handling on our products?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that, obviously, new suspension design is worked out in CAD first, and some programming that we use to kind of get all that figured out. I mean, all that stuff's kind of, you can't shoot for the moon on one thing and expect all the components to come together in one. So it is a bit of a compromise designing things, especially if you're using stock subframe. You are limited a little bit there. So, but all that goes into it to maximize the best handling. And then, of course, once we design it in the computer, and Matt will help us get together a test car or something we can do some testing with. And sometimes what's on the computer doesn't always respond to what's on the road. So that's why we do as much testing as we do and build these test cars. Because yeah, it might look good on the computer, but once we get it out in the real world situation, we need to do a little fine tuning and get the best handling option out there for our customers. So
especially too when you deal with like packaging constraints, it's like I said, a lot of people don't want to cut up their cars necessarily to optimize all your suspension points. So there is give and take as far as working within the constraints of your factory floor pan and your factory subframe and things of that nature. So
yeah, it's a good point. Getting wide wheels and tires on there that people seem to want, and get that right stance and look at all as a balance of getting everything to work well and then test it out and make sure it all works good.
That's a perfect segue to our next question. It's Eric Lane again. He says, when installing a Quadrant, how much wiggle room is there in the final product? So I guess the best way to describe, I'm assuming wiggle room would be clearances and things of that nature. Okay. So across the board on Quadrant applications, what considerations do we take for packaging? I know even like when it comes to, like the first gen, we had touched on it last week as well, the mini tub trunk closeouts. Mm-hmm. So they help when you're doing mini tubs and Quadrant, how it gives you clearance for your exhaust. Yeah. So what other things are considered when we make these Quadrants? When you are removing things more inboards, you could fit a wider wheel and tire package. What are things that are considered? And
yeah, we do.
What kind of wiggle room do we have?
Lower lengths and stuff, we'll move all that inboard, and of course mini tub, and we kind of have a general idea of how much clearance we want around the tire. And Matt, you can chime in too. But what I've always kind of told people is that you want to have about 3/8 to 1/2 inch between the outside quarter panel and the tire, and then about 3/4 of an inch on the inside frame rail to the inner tire. I don't know if that's about what we do in the shop or not.
Yeah, I mean, typically a good rule of thumb is if you can get your hand, basically the width of your hand up between the tire on both sides, it works out pretty good. Obviously some people want to run an even wider tire and they're okay with less clearance, but definitely 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch is what you want to not get any major rubs or anything like that.
Yeah. Even the way we design the axle brackets and stuff for the Quadrant, the coilover shocks and springs obviously have to come back from the axle tube, which is sometimes why we have things, the shocks around the body up or body down, not only for access to adjustable shock tuning, but also to get that offset from the axle tube so we don't have any rubbing, no matter what kind of driving you're doing with the vehicle. So all that's kind of worked in, like Matt touched on, with packaging and design. So
yeah, I'm trying to pull up
make sure nothing rubs.
Yeah,
trying to pull up a recent project where we can show clearance between the links and the wheel and tire package. So most recent, I know where we have underbody shots will be Larry's Boss 302. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through here.
And as far as a lot of your install stuff goes too, obviously when we design these kits, we give a ton of measurements, reference dimensions, templates, and things of that nature. So we try to give plenty of information that when you do one of these installs, there's no guessing involved. We've ironed out all the details. So when you're locating any of the Quadrant components, you know that they're in the correct location. So the links are adjustable, and obviously the track bar is adjustable and things of that nature. So you can center the axle once you're said and done, and make sure that you have those clearances in your wheel wells and things of that nature. So we definitely do our best to make sure you have all the information you need to do a really nice install.
Yeah, I mean, Matt knows from doing other aftermarket parts. Sometimes things don't always fit well, so we gotta. That's another thing we go above and beyond is to make sure everything fits right out of the box. Yeah, not every car is perfect, so we're actually building components that are more precisely tolerance and built than these cars were 50, 60 years ago. So a lot of times our parts are very repeatable, but the frames aren't always so.
Yeah, true.
I mean, that's really the only. We try to make it best we can come out of the box and bolt on the car without any issues. So
here we go. I have I'll do my screen share here. So here we have this is Tommy Franklin's 69 Camaro. I mean, you can see, we do bring the lengths further inboard, and there's still plenty of clearance between the tire and the lower length.
you can see why we offer those narrow fuel tanks too, where the exhaust cuts around the corner of those to give you some more clearance with that 3-inch exhaust.
Yeah, so that's that is our, I believe that's the 1000 super tank, because that was a high horsepower build. So when you buy a fuel tank from us as well, to package your Quadrant and your mini tubs, we consider exhaust clearance as well. And then this one also has the mini tub cutouts. So I can actually show you what those look like as well. I know we mentioned it last week, but I didn't bring it up to show everyone. So these are our mini tub trunk closeout kits. So when you're doing a mini tub or Quadrant install, these just give you a better clearance for the exhaust, so you can run a 3-inch stainless system without any obstructions. So Dan, we have another question. This one's for you. This is from Michael Shapiro on YouTube, and he says, "Just curious, Dan, are you related to Jim?" So you want to give a little backstory on that relationship there, and talk about a little bit of your history and what you and your dad have done.
Yep, that's my dad, as Alex mentioned, gave it away there. But so I grew up around cars, mostly engines. So that's really what I knew with drag racing and running pro modified and everything over the years, and really until he retired, along with my brother. So when I came here, I had good engine knowledge and drag racing knowledge, but I didn't know much about really a whole lot about basically street style suspension to race with. So that was another good benefit of working here was learning guys like Matt and Mark and guys in the shop, and the rest of the guys that were here, and Kyle, to really learn how to make these cars handle when you turn instead of just going straight and fast. But so he is my dad. So he actually retired in the Mooresville area, so I get to see him every now and again, and he's doing good. He's still building gassers and drag racing with his with our old Pro Mod driver now. So still having a good time. So
see, this thing is trying to pull up pictures. So there's a picture. There's one of your dad's cars there.
Yep, it's a good time there.
I'm trying to find the other one.
Before I was born.
Junkyard Dog, that's the one he still runs, right?
So a guy in Michigan bought that, I guess about a year and a half ago. But he ran that for 4 or 5 years in the nostalgic gas rule. Basically had a 34 stock Willys chassis with a I think it was a ladder bar in the back, even in a stock axle, and it ran 470s in the 8 mile at 348 stock chassis. So
that's awesome. So that's cool. You have a little bit of drag racing background that you bring to us, and your suspension knowledge as well. So so to answer your question, Michael, yes, Dan is related to Jim Oddy. Another question here, Craig Tolliver. He's getting ready to install his subframe connectors, and he's never squared a subframe. Can we lend any advice on how that process looks and where to measure from?
Yeah, you guys usually crisscross, don't you?
Yeah, we
The body
do.
mounts?
You basically pick the points at the front of the subframe. You'll use plumb bobs and drop them to the floor, and then you exit back to the chassis, basically where any of the factory fixture holes would be in the floor pan stamping and even the rockers. So you can take a handful of measurements. We usually use several different points just in case anything's ever been done to the floor of the car. So like I said, you could use the fixture points in the floor pan as well as the pinch weld on the rockers, especially if they look really nice and straight. That's always a good spot to go to.
How close you usually get those within like those crisscross numbers?
Yeah, we usually try to get, an eighth to 3/16 of an inch is really, really fair.
Yep.
Your alignment will definitely make up for that in the end. So
Yeah, so just for reference too, there's Tommy Franklin's car again. So you can see the subframe connectors installed on the subframe. So you measure crisscross, you said, crisscross on the subframe itself?
Yep. So, you can pick up the bolt holes in the bottom, the front there.
Yeah.
And you can X those back to matching points on the body. And like I said, we usually do several different points just really to check the dimensions that, something hasn't been done crazy with the floor pan. These cars are 40 and 50 years old, so you don't necessarily know what someone may have done before you. So it's always good to take multiple reference dimensions.
Like with our solid body mounts, you can pretty well loosen them, and there's enough wiggle room where you can make a few tweaks to get it dialed in and then tighten it all back up, right?
Yeah, you can definitely adjust, you can definitely wiggle it quite a bit, to get the alignment straight, provided it hasn't been crashed.
Right.
So John McIntyre is asking, have we ever considered producing and selling some of the custom parts that we fabricate on our car builds? He loves the steering wheel on Dave Tucker's car, which I think Dave Tucker's car.
So that's a Budnick wheel?
It's a Budnick wheel, but I'm pretty sure it's just the horn button that we machined, and that's custom. Or did we machine it or we modified it?
We modified a Budnick, the Budnick button, and put the factory GM or the Chevrolet logo into that. We get questions all the time about reproducing a lot of these custom parts, but the reality is just the amount of man hours that it takes to build some of this stuff. You would never be able to produce a lot of the stuff that we do, especially at a price point that would be good for the market. So a lot of this stuff is just all one-off, with the exception of the actual suspension products that we sell.
Yeah, and just a reference. This is the steering wheel that's on Dave Tucker's car right here.
Yep.
So like Matt mentioned, that's just a modified horn button on a Budnick wheel. So if you are interested in that wheel, that is sold by Budnick. You can order that through us as well. We do deal with Budnick frequently. So just reach out to our sales department, and we'd be happy to help you out with that.
And if anybody has access to a lathe or anything like that, that is one of the more simple parts to do. I mean, it is just mating two round parts. So the Budnick button got lathed and basically made a recess to accept the factory Chevrolet horn button. So that was a straight up just an NPD replacement parts horn button. So that one's fairly simple in the scope of the stuff that we do.
We have another YouTube question here from Mark Walker, and he says, as an auto painter, I love watching the auto and paint videos on a YouTube page. Do we do shop tours for the general public? So a quick answer to that, Mark, is yes, we do. Any business hours, usually from 8 to 4, we like to have people come in and you can check out the shop and talk to our guys. But as of right now, we are kind of on a hold for public tours. We're not currently letting anyone in at this time. We've mentioned previously that we're on split shifts, so we are taking precautions during this time, but we are not accepting private tour or public tours. So once we kind of lift that ban, we'll let everyone know, and yes, we'd be more than happy to have you come in and see what these guys do on a daily basis. So that answers that question there. And then Jared Holcomb, he says, on a first-gen F-body, when using a Speed Kit 2, so that would be bars, coilovers, control arms. Are there any stock subframe stiffening mods recommended? Any additional welding, gussets, or bracing that should be done?
typically, really.
No, we don't typically get into doing that on any stock frames. Something you will notice on some of the frames, though, the welding does definitely leave some areas that I guess were marginal and could be improved upon. So as far as using any stock frames, we will clean up the factory welds, and if it looks like an area that the factory did miss, we will definitely run over it and weld it in those areas so that we at least know that it is a solid frame unit. But other than that, we don't add any additional stiffening or anything like that. I mean, it is a boxed subframe, so it is pretty strong, provided that it does have good welds on it.
And then he had another follow-up question on that, and he hasn't seen any subframe crossmember reinforcements. So he wants to know, are those one-off fabrication pieces that we do? I know I've seen a few times, you know, when Mark's working on a car, he'll have doubler plates on the crossmember.
On the main crossmember?
I guess the transmission crossmember, unless he is referencing no, he says subframe crossmember reinforcements. So I don't,
pretty beefy.
Yeah, we don't
really
typically get into
necessary.
that. I mean, if there's anything out there, my guess is it would have been one-off and something that people have just fabricated and added themselves. One thing that I have seen is a lot of times the crossmember gets damaged on the bottom from being jacked up. So a lot of people will reinforce that area in the center, which is not a bad idea. I mean, any point that you're going to be doing a considerable amount of jacking or jack stand placement, we definitely have reinforced those areas before. Pinch welds and some of your floor stampings and things of that nature. So if that's what you're talking about, then that I'm sure that definitely has been done.
And even then, I mean, there are times where I've seen, people will install their tow hooks between the frame rail and the crossmember, and that could almost serve as a gusset, but that's not really for strengthening purposes. But that's really the only thing I would see it for, is just for tie down purposes. So that answers that. And then Scott Kramer, he is asking, what transmission crossmember are we using on our subframes for a T56 6-speed?
Here in the shop, we typically just build from scratch all of our crossmembers. We've used the Bowler transmission crossmember in the past. Is a good bolt-on option, but the level of these cars and the attention to detail that they get, we typically just scratch build all of those things, especially to get optimum exhaust clearance. You know, we're doing 3-inch dual stainless on everything, so that's the best way to ensure that you get adequate clearance.
So we also, on the other hand, those are custom applications like Matt said, but we do offer the Hooker Blackheart transmission cross members for various applications, and a lot of these are designed to fit our hydroform subframe. So when you buy one of our frames, we do have an option for T56s, and I think there's also turbo 400, turbo 350 transmission options, depending on what you're looking for. But we do offer those on our website as well. So kind of the more retail side of transmission cross members for our subframes.
Yeah, the Holly one is very nice. It's got a lot of lightning holes. It's really a sturdy design. So that is definitely a good option.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's see. Next question we have here. Glad to see that you're engineering parts for the increasingly popular G-body cars. Could you all figure out a way to get a 335 30/18s in the rear? And that's from Jerry Coleman. This is a common question that we are asked about, maximum wheel and tire option for G-body cars. So you want to touch on what we have recommendations for maximum and what it would take to do something like that?
Yeah, I mean, those cars definitely have gotten a lot popular. We've seen our G-body products move a lot faster than they have in a while, so that's great because they're definitely cool cars and for my age group. But yeah, I mean, typically you're really limited on those cars, much like the third gen with the frame rail. I'm sure Matt can tell you too. I mean, 295s will fit pretty good, but I mean, I think you'd probably have to.
Yeah, I wouldn't think you'd get beyond that.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, the big issue with those is you do have to get into the frame rail and narrow the frame rail, as well as doing a mini tub to get any type of very large tire up into your 315s and 335s. I believe there are quite a few people out there that have done it. I don't know of any kits or not.
I
don't know of a kit, but I do know we had a customer, John. He actually won our Cars and Cones giveaway. He had an early model, I think it was an 82 Monte Carlo, and I think he notched his frame.
Yeah.
He notched the frame to fit. I think he was running a 315.
Okay.
But I don't think it was a kit. I think that's just something that he had to do it, do it himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not aware of any other kits, but like these guys said, I mean, that's one of those things where you're almost getting into the back half territory on those cars to fit such a large wheel and tire package because of that frame rail.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Craig Tolliver says, when fitting rear wheels and tires, how are the rear quarter lips removed? Are they rolled? Do you cut them? What process do you use? I think you touched on that a little bit last week.
Yeah, I mean, that one, again, it's kind of totally, your personal preference. We've done both ways. If the lip is longer and you've got good leverage, you can definitely roll it and or hammer it, more vertical to make it narrower. If the car is painted or not painted yet, that would kind of steer you one direction or another. If you're trying to roll a lip and the car is painted, you could definitely crack the paint at the edge of the fender lip or the quarter lip. Whereas, cutting it, you just cut it back and re-weld it right along the edge and or drill new spot weld holes. So again, that one's it's kind of preference, and it varies by car. We've done it equally, either way. So there's no right or wrong way to do it, just to make the clearance and make sure it doesn't rub.
And then John McIntyre is asking again, just to get my foot in the door, I bought your base model coilovers with your front subframe and rear quadrant. Are they a decent everyday driver's shock? So I would assume that's just the base, the non-adjustable JRI shock. So as far as just an everyday driver's shock, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I mean JRI is going to be the nicest shock you can get for the street use out there. They make them specifically for us the way we want them to be built, so it gives you a nice smooth handling characteristics on the road. So yeah, to answer your question, it's definitely great for the road. I mean, like I said, JRI's got the best shocks out there, really.
And it's not just like you said, it isn't just an off-the-shelf part that they just we give them a part number, they pull it, give it to us. These are shocks that we set the valving on them. We give them the specifications that we are looking for and work well with them on wanting to achieve that performance suspension feel, but not sacrificing the ride quality. So
not something too stiff is going to rattle your teeth. It's just a nice good performance handling feel.
Exactly. So let's take a second to also just explain. I mean, these are just the base shocks. They are great for everyday driving. What are the different levels that we offer?
Yes.
So start off with the base.
Yeah, non-adjustable. That's probably obviously the most common. And then single adjustable is probably the next common. That's just going to allow you to adjust your rebound control on the shock side of things as the shock extends as you go over bumps. The double adjustable shock, we offer it just as the regular volume shock, and then of course we have a remote canister shock. The double adjustable shocks can allow you to adjust your high speed and your low speed rebound. So basically, kind of summarize that, low speed would be your initial movement of the vehicle, and then high speed would be, say you're out on the road course going fast around turns, that's going to be your high speed valve tuning. And then the canister, it just gives you a little bit extra volume if you are out there doing heavy track days or something. The car's out there on the track for a while, and it just kind of acts like an accumulator as the temperature changes in the shock in the gas. Make sure you got a consistent charge in the shock.
The canister also allows you easier access to change your gas charge in that shock. So you can definitely fine tune your spring rate a little bit by adding or taking out some of your gas charge. I think up to like 300 psi, I believe you can run in those.
Yeah, I think most of them are probably about 150. But yeah, like Matt says, as you take away gas pressure or add it, you're basically adjusting the compression valve inside of the shock. So another nice tuning element on the track for you if you need to.
I also think too, when you walk up to a car and you look under it and it's got remote reservoirs, it just looks way cooler. So I mean, you get that aesthetic, the aesthetic feature too, and especially a lot of the cars we built in the early years too, when we had the previous style remote reservoirs, you mount them up on the down bars in the engine bay, and it looks cool.
Yeah, cool factor for sure.
So you get that performance from them, but aesthetically pleasing as well.
But that's what's great about our sales and tech guys. I mean, they can help you pick what valving is best for your needs. Most of the time, we recommend a single adjustable, just whether you're on the street or not, just to have a little bit of fine tuning, kind of entry level. Double adjustable shocks are a little bit more complicated in how you tune them and the way you tune them. So, but JRI gives you dyno sheets so you can work off. Obviously, you need those to adjust your shock. So, but yeah, the sales and tech guys will definitely help you get what you need.
Mm-hmm. And John also asked, they're interchangeable, right? He just wants to know, can I remove and replace to a better shock if I decide in the future? Can he just upgrade? Is it just a direct bolt-in?
Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So there you go, John. If you decide you want to upgrade to either a single adjustable or a double adjustable in the future, all you need to do is give us a call and let us know you want to upgrade, and we can definitely get that taken care of for you. And then it's just a matter of unbolting them and bolting in the new ones. So we have Chad here. He's asking, on Larry's Boss, you installed some braces to the subframe. Were these custom in-house, or were they available through you or somewhere else? I'm not quite sure which braces he's referring to, because I'm 99% positive that car just received the Alumaframe subframe connector and torque box kit. But I'll let you touch on that, because I know you're definitely more hands-on with that car.
You may be seeing where Mark reinforced the torque boxes. I think he added some extra bracing. If it's the one I'm thinking about, it's just another one of those parts that it's one-off fabricated part here. Depending on what some of these cars are doing, we have definitely added extra bracing. Mustangs are relatively flimsy in the front subframe and like inner fender apron area. So again, I believe that's a part that we just made in-house. I don't know that anybody offers any of those types of kits.
Mm-hmm. Now, with a part like that, I mean, I know when you talk about our subframe connectors and how they attach to the front torque box, and then we have the rear torque box kit, is something like that truly necessary, or was it just something that, Mark did for just a little bit of extra, frame stiffening and just aesthetic, or so it's not a completely necessary modification?
No, it's not. It's the cars, the full builds that we do here. We spend tons of time making sure we hit every single little detail. And again, it's just everything we do here is basically extra. We build really, really nice vehicles that are really over the top, and it's just anywhere that we see that you can make an improvement, we try and do it.
And even, on the DSEZ, I see people mention it all the time, just for symmetry in the engine bay, that little strut tower, little brace, panel there. I know you made one that was identical for the other side because it wasn't symmetrical from the factory. So, a lot of the things you see in the project builds, we like to keep everyone updated so they can see what we're working on, but it also serves as inspiration for people too, just to see what we are doing on the custom fabrication side of things. But everything you see is not always completely necessary, but it's just when you go through a build, like Matt mentioned, the level of these cars, I mean, we touch every single bolt, and every single part is modified, cleaned up. We do everything. So it's normal to see different parts like that being enhanced or changed in different ways. So Craig is asking here, he says, question for Dan. I have an 89 Camaro that I drive for fun while I restore my 1969 Camaro. What has been your favorite upgrade on your Camaro?
I mean, I still really like those caster camber plate kits that we offer. I mean, not that I really adjust them much on my daily driver, but I think it's just the nicest thing out there that I've seen, with the star lines and alignments, things like that. I mean, to adjust your caster and camber like that on the fly is so nice and easy. And whenever I put tires on it, which I do, I'll get it aligned, and it's just an easy way to get it dialed in. I mean, there's a lot of favorite parts I like in that, but then when the nice stamped strut tower or
caster camber plates.
Yeah, caster camber plates that we made.
Nathan, you want to talk about these too?
Yeah, that's what's kind of nice, because like Matt told me, I mean, you really can't find those anymore unless you go to a junkyard.
Yeah, so I don't think that anyone reproduces them.
No.
So those are what they're referring to here is our strut mount retainers.
That go underneath. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a stamped piece that we have electroplated, and I guess those are prone to failure, just rusting out.
Yeah, they get rusty.
The threads on the bolts are like them 10 or 12. I forget what they are.
Yeah, people tear them up. There's definitely, there aren't any out there. And like I said, short of going to the junkyard and having to find some, we got tired of trying to source them, even just doing the prototyping here at the shop. So we went ahead and just made our own version. They're a little bit nicer, electroplated, nice hardware. So
And
definitely,
even the price point too. I mean, they're $39.
Yeah, it's a nice stand part.
and it's an overlooked part. You know,
it is.
Until you have a pair that are bad, you don't realize how nice it is having those.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, I did a lot of parts at once, but the one thing I did very first, even when we had the G-body stuff, is I put the swivel links on the back of my car. So everything was bone stock, and I put the swivel links on the back. And of course, the old ones were frozen and stuff, so that made a humongous difference in the way that car handled.
Just so you have that free articulation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure most cars that have the stock arms on them are locked up now because 30 plus years old. And swivel links, like coming from that drag racing background, when I came here and being used to 4 links and heim joints and stuff that does bind, when I saw the way them things swivel and how they work, I'm like, man, that is the coolest thing out there I've seen.
And even there is that stigma, where you have a rubber bushing. If you're drag racing your car, there's a little bit of give there, but I mean, we use the high durometer rubber bushing, so it's nice and firm and stiff, but it doesn't sacrifice that quality as well for driving on the street.
Yeah, and that's what my car is. It's a driver, so but definitely a lot of nice bolt-on stuff for the 3rd gen, and I could probably talk about all of them. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean that segues into another question we have here. And John McIntyre asks, what kinds of cars or hot rods do Matt and Dan have? So we just gave that one away there. Dan has a Camaro, a 3rd gen Camaro. His first car. He daily drives it. It's got Detroit Street suspension on it. And I know Matt's a 3rd gen enthusiast as well. The DSEZ that you see right there, that was his baby. So he poured his heart and soul into that car, and he's built plenty of them over the years. That and 4th gens. So a lot more of the modern muscle end of things, and I know Matt's car also served as a bit of a test bed for when we did our 93 to 02 Camaro Firebird suspension, along with our engineer, his Pontiac Firebird there, the Formula. So yeah, these guys, they're both hot rod guys. They've had their fair share of cars as well. So that's how everyone is here. I was a Fox body and 3rd gen guy as well. So
we're getting more love for the 80s and newer stuff for sure.
Exactly, and it's becoming so popular now. I mean, Ryan's got C4 Corvette, and he's got a Fox body. So this modern muscle, it's becoming more affordable, and we're trying to serve everyone with the parts on that as well. So I mean, another comment here, Garrett Stivers on YouTube. He says, any plan to bring Detroit Speed Inc. skill and expertise to the Fox body world? And I know we touched on that last week as well. It keeps coming up because they're such a popular platform. But to answer that quickly, yes, we are getting into Fox body. The first thing we'll have off the bat will be some subframe connectors that we're currently working on right now, and we'll have mini tubs coming, and then obviously suspension to complement both of those. So be on the lookout for that. If you actually head over to our website, let me turn on the screen share here. So if you go to our website and you click sign up for our newsletter, it's at the top right corner. We like to keep everyone updated on our email newsletters, let them know what's going on at the shop, new products, some different tech features. So definitely sign up for our newsletter. That's the best way to stay in touch. And these sliders that we have on the web page as well, we constantly keep those updated with new happenings. So as we make progress with Fox Body and we keep pushing that, we'll definitely keep everyone updated. And we've also aligned with Caleb Richards at Foxcast Media. Get that one out. So we started working with him. Definitely check out his page as well. He's a huge Fox Body guy and likes to share a bunch of stuff. So we're going to partner up with him and kind of share our experience in the Fox Body world as we make some progress on it. So yeah, stay tuned, and we'll have that coming. Let's see what other questions we have here on YouTube. On a 69 Mustang Fastback, is it necessary to install mini tubs when going to the Quadrant?
It is not. We've had quite a few people do the Quadrant and no tubs. The Mustang that was built by RK Motors was a fastback, like a 67 fastback. They just stuck with an even tire all the way around. I think they did probably 275s or so on that car.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That was the Shelby, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah, because that car actually, let me see if I can find a picture of it, because that car has a, that was one they did forget, they did some tour, like some cross country
Yeah.
tour with it.
Yeah, they brought it here. I remember when they had finished.
Yeah,
Had
our full suspension,
Yeah,
had the subframe, the Quadrant, all the stuff except for mini tubs was the only thing. They weren't interested in doing a really large rear tire, which is totally fine.
Yeah, and that kind of car. Yeah.
Here it is. It would help if I turn screen share on. So it's this car here, the RK527. So it's got it's a Kazi big block, I guess that's what they are. So Kazi big block under the hood, Luma frame. You can see it kind of poking through in the front, and then that's a pretty small tire back there for an 800 horsepower car, but it does have the Quadrant. So yeah, like they said, it's not a necessary modification. It definitely helps if you want to get more, bigger wheel and tire combination. I think even, I'm not sure what's the maximum we recommend on those. Is that a 335 with mini tubs and a Quadrant?
Yeah, it was 69 and 70. We say 335, but probably 315 for the 65, 68s.
Okay. Yeah, the earlier cars were 315 for sure.
Yeah, so I mean,
and we got another good customer in Florida that does that too. I mean, they buy Quadrants in the frames and they just don't tub it.
Yeah, and it's not necessary. It's just a matter of how big of a tire you want to get. How much traction do you want? Especially with today's tire technology being so great. I mean, just having, the ability to have that much, wheel and tire under your car it's definitely a plus. I mean, you saw that the RK Motors car right there. Oh, these pages are jumping around on me. So I mean, it's a smaller tire, but I mean, if you look at a car like Larry's Boss 302, I mean, these Boss cars have a rolled quarter lip and rolled fender lip, so you can fit a wider wheel and tire, and that car has a 345. So it's just a matter of what you want, how much traction do you want to have on your car, how big of a tire, but it is not completely necessary. So don't let that be something that scares you if you're kind of turned off by a product because you think you have to do something else. You can run a Quadrant without mini tubs. Let's see. Another question here from Craig on the HD leaf spring pocket kit. You just got done installing a Quadrant on a street-driven car. What benefit would there be to installing that?
Yeah, I mean, you're basically using that lower leaf spring pocket with the 4-link. So it is a bolt-in part that was designed decades ago. So I think we wanted to have something that's a little bit stronger for the way we beat on our cars. So we designed that heavy-duty pocket. There it is. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's all dependent upon vehicle use.
Yeah,
if you're just out there cruising around, doing car shows and stuff like that, the factory leaf spring pocket design is totally fine. Now, when you start making big power and putting big tires on it, and you're out there getting rowdy, that you'll eventually start to tear that lower pocket, and also the bolts are held in with just like the small J clips. So it's definitely a weak point if you do start tracking your car autocross, road course, or you like to go to the drag strip and make a bunch of passes. That will eventually become a stress point. We've reinforced those pockets for a long time on the cars that saw heavy track use, and then that's what spurred this design of the heavy duty bracket. And it's if you're really hard on your stuff, it's definitely an upgrade worth having.
Yeah, and it's a fairly simple install. I mean, there's a few measurements you take, but when we supply instructions for everything, so you just punch some holes in the floor and do some welding, and but like these guys said, I mean, if you're going to be abusing your car and giving it the beans, you're going to want to have a little more strength there, so you're not breaking anything else.
We have them for the first gen Camaro Firebirds and then the 687 Novas, which we know that those Novas make pretty good drag cars. So
yes,
that's something you want to have in there.
And it's crazy too, because we have another customer. He's got a 70 Nova with a big block, and it's a drag car. He's got that. It's awesome because he's got these rally wheels. I'm actually going to pull it up.
Yeah, I remember showing that.
He's got rally wheels. But they're skinnier in the front.
Is that the one in the Northeast?
Not sure. I think the guys that built his engine, I think they're in Indiana. But he drag races his car. He's got a bead lock set up for it. He's got our mini tubs. and Quadrant, and he's using that kit as well, the pocket kit. All right, I got it pulled up here. So his name's Gary, but I mean, it is just a beautiful car. But he's running, the Quadrant, and he drag races it, and this thing hooks up. He recently posted a picture of it with wheels up when he had his previous wheel and tire package on it. But I mean, it hooks up and goes. So I mean, we do pro street stuff or pro touring stuff. I mean, these pro street guys and drag racers, I mean, they're not having any trouble getting traction either. So I mean, it's a best of both worlds with that kit as well.
Yeah, application like that would be perfect for that.
Exactly, yeah. So I want to take a second to also say we are doing an offer as well for anyone that attended this webinar, webcast, and live feed on YouTube. If you go to our website and you want to place an order, if you use the code WEBCAST, you will get 10% off your order. So all you need to do is just, hop on our website, you make your cart, find the products you want. If you need to call us, if you have any questions, it's sales@detroitspeed.com or tech@detroitspeed.com, or give us a call. We're 704-662-3272. But like we said, we have an offer for you. Use that code WEBCAST. That's WEBCAST on the website. Or if you're calling in, you could just mention it to our sales guys, and we'll make sure they apply the discount. But that is 10% off from now up until April 20th. So make sure you guys take advantage of that as well. I mean, 10% off, if you're making a big order, that'll make a big difference for you. So, we want to help you guys out, and we thank you guys for coming in and asking questions. So there you go. Nice little offer for you. So let's move on to another question here. Let's see. So Lamont Perry, he says, thank you so much for everything that you do. I'm trying to get a bigger tire on the back of my 69 Camaro without any major modifications such as welding. Do we have anything bolt-on wise for this modification? So
yeah, not really getting any more room in stock. I mean, we typically fit like a 275 tire in there, the way it is, but really, you really got to move that inner tub to really gain any more clearance. So
which that being said, a 275, we talk about these crazy tire sizes nowadays, but a 275 compared to what was on those cars from the factory is still a really good size
nice tire.
Yeah. And like Alex said, tire technology and tire compounds, a 275 based on the motor you might have could be plenty of traction and all that you necessarily need.
Exactly. So I mean, a big part of that would be power plant.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're just running, if you still have a small block 350 or even an LS1 that's just a stock LS1, I mean, that large of a tire, I mean, 275 is still plenty.
You can make a 275 hook, and one thing that a lot of people overlook too in regards to tire size, everybody focuses on getting the biggest tire possible, but really and truly, the lighter a car is, the less that the big tire is going to affect it necessarily.
Exactly.
If you can build a light car, you might not necessarily need 315s and 335s, or if you're not making 700 horsepower, the tire could be overkill per se. So
exactly. Once you start getting over that, 600, 700 and plus horsepower, that's where these mini tubs definitely come into play. You can fit up to 315, 335 combination depending on what you want to do with our mini tubs. And as far as the installation goes, I know there's a lot. It might be intimidating some people to have to do this cutting and welding. If you have a friend of yours that's a fabricator, or you have a solid couple weekends, it's not a terrible install. And this is coming from me, where I'm an entry level fabricator. Matt's seen some stuff that I've done, and I don't have a ton of experience with it, but I've watched these guys do these mini tub installs, and they're not that bad.
Yeah,
it's a little intimidating, but if you're not afraid to get dirty and do some cutting and welding, I mean, it just the effort you put into it and the time you put into it and the reward from it of a larger wheel and tire combo, it's definitely worth having. Let's see. Yeah, about 10 minutes left. Time flies.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 50 minutes now.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got another YouTube question. What is your preferred AC system? That's a good one. We could plug Vintage Air right here.
Yep.
Let's talk about that a little bit. What do you guys use in the project shop for AC?
So we use pretty much the Gen 4 Magnum in all the cars. I mean, Vintage Air has their stuff just it's totally figured out at this point. We do a lot of the custom brackets as far as mounting the units, but they even offer a lot of the mounts for their kits depending on your application. So they can direct you to the right condenser, the right fitting and hose kits. Mm-hmm. They've got all the really cool controller options depending on what you want as far as your controllers go. I mean, just they've thought of every single detail, and they can sell every part that you need to put together a really nice kit. So they've been awesome for us. I mean, that's exclusively who we use.
Yeah. And these, I mean, all of these kits that we use on the project cars, I mean, it's all on our website. If you go to DetroitSpeed.com under vendor products, these are all of our trusted partners and people that we sell product through. And, we're happy to be partnered up with them. So Vintage Air is on that list. All you need to do is, hop on there, check it out. Like Matt said, they have LS applications, small block applications, big block applications. There's some Ford stuff as well. So pretty much anything you guys need to get some AC going in your classic car, give us a call, and we'd love to talk to you about it. And we trust Vintage Air and all the vehicles that we build. Yeah,
and several years ago, I mean, Matt always smooths the firewall and does some fancy custom thing with the hoses and stuff like that. But if you're not really getting into that and you just want a simple, we'll almost say bolt-in kit, they came out with that SureFit kit several years ago, and it's everything's included in it. The evaporator unit, all the hoses and fittings and little firewall closeouts and things like that. It's a nice simple install kit. That's not going to get too crazy with a lot of custom work.
Oh yeah, definitely like do it in your garage type thing for sure.
Yep, comes condenser, the compressor, it's all a nice little kit called the SureFit kit. So I know we sell a few of them here. So
here's another question on YouTube. I think we pretty much addressed this one, but I'd like to bring it up again. Is the Quadrant adjustable enough to handle going from drag radials to slicks for anti-squat and a 66 Mustang? So, I mean, we kind of went through and showed off Gary's page as well with his Nova. So, I mean, it's a kit where there is plenty of adjustability to do various different wheel and tire setups. I mean, he has beadlocks on radials, and then he has his street tires, and he switches up his platform and his setup depending on what tire he's running. So I mean, that car hooks up and does wheelies too. So I would say yes, there is plenty of adjustability in that kit, and depending on what wheel and tire you want to go with.
Does the Mustang give you 3 positions?
Yeah, I was gonna say the axle. Mustang's one of our new ones. So actually, I think even at the body too.
Oh yeah, both sides.
So you can change your instant center and things like that with the Mustang Quadrant because it has some extra attachment holes to make some changes.
Let me go up and I'll go ahead and pull that up so you guys can. I
remember we played with that when we took our 66 over to Mooresville drag strip there, and Ryan was driving around. We were making some swings on the bars just to learn stuff. But you can see
you can see there on the axle bracket there's 3 points of adjustment, and then on the body side there's points of adjustment as well.
There's a couple in the front lower link attachment there. So
so right there.
Yep, definitely you can make some changes.
So yeah, plenty of adjustability with the Quadralink. So yeah, I'd say go ahead and give it a try. Let's see what else we have here. Scott Kramer, do you guys build your own 3-inch stainless exhaust systems for 69s? Have we ever used the Hooker Blackheart bolt-on system? Let's actually, I'm glad he brought that up because I know wasn't he kind of helping out working with Hooker on that exhaust system for LS swap 69s with our suspension? That was on Mark Wellborn's car.
I don't recall on that one.
I distinctly remember Blake working on that car because I remember he had it on the rotisserie building that suspension, and then he was, we work closely with Holly and Hooker, so I think we may have had a hand in helping them design an exhaust kit for our suspension on the 69 Camaro, but we haven't personally used that Hooker kit. Everything we do here, I mean, Matt, you could touch on it. I mean, we build our own exhaust systems.
Yeah, everything is scratch built. we typically use our headers from Profab. We stock headers for most all of our front suspension applications, your LS swaps and coyotes of that nature. And then so basically from those headers back, we build 3-inch dual stainless. We basically have a large assortment of bends that we order, and then we use pretty much been using exclusively hooker mufflers. Sometimes we'll use some additional resonators and things of that nature. But yeah, we just, again, it's one of those quality control things. Is we build everything here in house to the highest standard possible. So it's one of those things that we like to just scratch build.
Yeah, and a lot of people ask. I know it's a common question. With any time we post an idle video or a track video or a walk around, people will always ask, what exhaust are we using? And like you said, we use hooker, and a majority of the time it's a 3-inch in, 3-inch out, and it's the VR304 muffler is the one that we use a lot. So let's go ahead and screen share and let you guys see that. So this right here, the VR304 muffler, this is pretty much what we've been exclusively using on our builds. And like I said, this is a 2.5 in and out. We use the 3-inch. And then another question that came up on YouTube, Matt, how many hours do you think to build a 3-inch exhaust system from the collectors back? And how much time do we invest in, routing the exhaust the correct way and just, taking the time to weld it, make sure that it's completely sealed?
On one of these cars, first or second gen, the tailpipes are a little bit tricky, and we do an X pipe and everything. I would say typically about a week's time, so 40 hours to scratch build the exhaust, do your hangers and finish weld everything is probably a pretty good estimate. There are cars that are more complicated like that. Something like the Riviera, it's a dual 3-inch stainless, and it's also got the electric hooker cutouts. So that exhaust was far more involved, probably 2.5 weeks to do it. But what you're looking at is our typical package. So again, something like that would take us about a week to do from start to finish.
Right. Yeah, and like you said, these are the VR304 mufflers on there. So we'll do we'll V-band the exhaust system as well, and we'll do full tailpipes all the way out the back. So yeah, like Matt said, you can see just looking at it all the different bends that we have, and we work with Pro Fabrication. They're local to us here. They actually private label build all of our headers as well. So we work very close to them, and we'll pick up a lot of the exhaust tubing from them, and we just build everything from scratch. But hopefully that answers your question there. Let's see. And Craig Tolliver has another question here that we'll probably we'll go ahead and make this our final question. He says, when building a car, do we get the car running and complete and then take it apart to go to body and paint? So let's just explain the build process. What happens when the customer comes in and says, I want this car, what do we do?
So typically we'll start by disassembling and sandblasting a vehicle, and then through the entire fab process, every component of the car gets mocked up and gets built. We'll install our suspension, a subframe, engine, transmission. We'll do the tunnel modifications. We'll build the exhaust. We've gotten to the point where we've even been wiring some of the vehicles in the fabrication stage, but so far, most all vehicles are not run before they go to the body shop. They are completely built, completely assembled, and even partially wired. And at that point, they'll come apart, go to the body shop, and go through paint and body. And then once it gets on to final assembly, there's a certain amount of wiring and plumbing that you just really can't do until the car is actually painted and assembled to a certain stage. So at that point we'll finish plumbing and wiring and get them running in final assembly. That being said, we're using all Holley engine controls and harnesses and things of that nature, and dealing with a lot of crate motors and things like that. So there's not really any unknowns when it comes to making them run. It's just, that stuff is so bulletproof and works so well for us, especially the Dominator and things of that nature. So yeah, final assembly is where we get them fired up and run for the first time.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that answers exactly what he was asking. So Yeah, and I think it's great that you mentioned, you know, wiring some cars in the fab stage.
Mhm.
You know, I've seen Jason over here, you know, working on the Chris's Mustang as well, just trying to get some stuff. I mean, that just makes it easier for him.
Yep.
You know, once he gets to that point where, you know, car's painted, we're doing final assembly. You know, a lot of the stuff that he has to wire is already there. So kind of makes the process from paint to final assembly and running and driving a lot faster.
Yep, for sure.
So that's pretty much how we do it. And I think we'll go ahead and we'll close this one out. So just a reminder, guys, use the code WEBCAST on DetroitSpeed.com, and that will give you 10% off your next order. And thank you guys for joining us. So I think we'll go ahead and close it out, and we'll keep you in touch and let you know if we're going to do this again. So thank you guys, and have a great week.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching.